Då är det dags för nästa presentation som också kommer bli på engelska och det är Pila Pharma, Dorte. Please welcome.
Lite för schedule kanske. Det blir inte broadcastet eller? Och jag ska bara ha koll på den här. Yeah, so hello everybody, my name is Dorte Graham. I represent Pila Pharma, a Malmö-based company that I founded in 2014. I'm actually here as a stand-in because the original slot keeper had to pull out for some reason, and we were invited. So in the program, it's actually not Pila Pharma, so you can strike out the other name and write in Pila Pharma, and then you can remember who we are. I founded the company because I'm a veterinarian by training, and I did a PhD in pharmacology, actually in vivo sciences, so I recognize a little bit what they talked about before. I also did a lot of inhalation studies, trying to develop inhaled treatments of diabetes. I worked at Novo Nordisk as a PhD student and also later on as a scientist. And in all this work, I was also involved in various insulin products and the GLP-1 analogs. You may know semaglutide, that is a really big blockbuster. And I actually picked that out as an in vivo pharmacologist in that project. So that's pretty cool to see something that you have worked with actually came to market and made life better for people. Working a lot with the different diabetes treatments and understanding a little bit the market and also trying to understand the patient needs. I can see that there could be some improvements, and by coincidence, I stumbled over a new mechanism of action, and that led me to start Pila. So, and that was blocking what I call the chili receptor. So if you eat chili, you get this warm, hot sensation, and that is generated via activation of the chili receptor, TRPV1. And what I saw in animal models was that we could regulate blood glucose via insulin regulation, probably also insulin sensitivity. Anyway, we are here now to just increase your awareness about our company. We know Marcus since a few years. We've talked on and off, and thanks for inviting us. And we are listed, so #Pila, that's also something to write in the program. A little bullet point list. I had actually made a PowerPoint presentation so I could take it one by one, but let's see. As I said, we founded it, and we founded it in 2014 in Malmö. I'm Danish, as you can hear, but I live in southern Sweden, and we found out that a good way to start companies was in the Swedish environment where there are private investors who dare taking a risk on startup companies. So we have made the startup out of Sweden, and I'm really thankful for that. We had a lot of help from the local Swedish Malmö-based incubator, Median Science Park. Of course, if you want to go into drug development, it's just going to be more and more and more and more money, and at some point you need to consider listing. At least that's the model here in Sweden also. And we did that in last summer, middle of the summer, 15th July. And that was to finance a little bit boring phase, but we needed to do some more API, the compound, and some more tox studies. We have, as I said, headquartered in Malmö, and we also have a wholly owned subsidiary in Denmark, and that is actually for tax purpose reasons. So we run all our R&D via the Danish company, because then we get approximately 20% tax of the spending back each year. So we can spend the money twice, at least 20%. So that's smart, we think. We have, as I said, my interest is in diabetes, and to try to make a molecule, to new treatment, obviously you need to have a molecule. And these molecules that actually block the chili receptor, we don't want to have the chili effect, we want to have the opposite effect. Those kind of molecules have been developed in relatively large scale, and some companies, big pharma companies, have been involved. A lot of money has been invested in that field, but the first generations had side effects. People got increased temperature, actually fever. So many of these projects were stopped. When I started Pila Pharma, actually the start before the Pila started, I asked my scientific advisor, assemble some smart scientists within the diabetes field and in the pain TRPV1 field and asked them how should we do that. And they said, get to proof of concept in man first, skip all the in vivo studies. So we went out and saw if we could in-license a molecule that had already been in clinic, and we did so in 2016. This molecule comes from Bayer in Germany and had been out with a British biotech company that had taken it into 2 other indications. So we have a lot of data on this molecule. The previous owners did not demonstrate an effect, but the molecule seems to be safe as compared to others in this drug class. So we in-licensed it, and the first money we raised via the private investors took us to 2 phase 2A studies. First, a single ascending dose where we could show that the molecule was well tolerated by diabetics, and then we did a 1-month study. We had 1 month's tox from Bayer, so we could do a 1-month clinical study in man. And we did just a single dose, the dose that was well tolerated in other patients without diabetes, versus placebo, or that was actually the comparator, was people with on treatment with metformin, which is the first treatment diabetics get if they cannot control their glucose on diet and exercise. And in that study, we could show that we indeed could improve insulin secretion in diabetic patients. We also saw an effect on glucose, not super powerful, but clearly a trend, and that led us to go to the stock exchange and raise money to make more compound and do a 3 months tox study that is ongoing now, but almost finished, and we are now approaching 3 months phase 2B studies. And this is just for you to see that we have this. Here is, so since we listed, it's not been, it has been an experience, I would say, to be listed in 2022 as a new young company without a lot of milestones to report. But we have done what we said. We had a 3-step program plan when we listed. First was this to actually manufacture more of this molecule powder. And we have a very good collaborator in Northern Ireland and in Ireland, and they optimized the method so that we ordered 17 kilos and we got 25, so that was amazing to do that. And that was then used to, first of all, make new formulations, all liquid formulations, so we could dose animals in these 3-month studies, and we started that last summer. And let's see here if we can... Yeah, so this is the TRPV1 antagonist. As I said before, we have the 3 months safety studies are then ongoing now. So rodents and non-rodents, and both of these have been dosed for 3 months in super high doses without any clinical signs. We also got from the rodents histopathology and PK super high exposure, so we gave them a lot of compound, and it actually also got into the bloodstream, so they have, gotten, it seems 50 to 100 times more than what we expect to dose in man. And we still miss the histopathology from the non-rodents. That is unfortunately a little bit delayed, but it seems that everything in this business is delayed at the moment and becoming more expensive after COVID. But we have to wait, and we have heard that it should come here in the end of March. So we cross our fingers that everything is clean, and then we can finally go on to the next studies. Also of importance, this tablet that you saw, we have made stability tests of that. I think this molecule is just super, super stable. At 25 degrees, the tablets are stable, like almost not degraded at all for 5 years. So we have something, I think, that we could, if it works out the way we hope, we can scale it up and have a good economy around the production of the drug and the tablets, the drug. Also, this is an old molecule, as you can imagine. Bayer developed it some time ago, and so our patent strategy is to file use patents around the use in specific indications. And we have started with diabetes, and we filed a patent in October 2021, and we are preparing one in pain because that's our next step into other indications. And we also looked into how can we protect the asset better, and we thought, okay, getting an orphan drug status, you can actually, prevent others from using your molecule for some years. In US it's 7 years, and in EU it's 10. So we used the data that actually the previous owner had generated. They had done a study in animals in pain, and they had also in some of these clinical studies made a capsaicin challenge test, meaning they made patients inhale chili or capsaicin, the active ingredient in chili, after taking our tablet, and showed that it was the cough. People start coughing if they inhale chili. Maybe you've tried it yourself. But if you take our tablet that should block the chili receptor, the cough is diminished highly statistically significantly. So we knew that our tablet blocks the target in man, and we knew from preclinical studies that it can inhibit pain. And we found then an orphan drug or an orphan indication, sjællandssygdom, which are patients that experience bursts of high intensity pain in the hand and feet. They get like super inflamed and red hands and feet, and it's extremely painful. And so, but we came in from kind of the mechanistic and patent data protection angle. But the US authorities, FDA, they granted us this status this summer. So suddenly we had an extra project. And we have actually not had resources to work a lot on that. But that seems to be something that can be an extra cash cow, maybe even. So we have worked on looking into how can we take this to market. And we know from the European authorities that if we provide data from an effect on pain in man, then we can get orphan status in EU also. So that's kind of the double market size then. And then you can start calculating actually, can you actually, the investment you need to take this to market can be gained back within these 7 years. And the good thing about if getting it in Europe, that would be data protection for all indications, not just the orphan condition. So we're working on that. We think we can then do a proof of concept study and then a phase 2b/3, and I think that comes maybe. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a structure of the chili receptor. I think it's a very beautiful picture. Maybe it's a little bit strange, but I'm a nerd, so here it is. We hope to turn into or develop from being a diabetes-focused company into being a company focused on the TRPV1. It seems we have a molecule that can effectively block this receptor, and this receptor is involved in regulating inflammation, neurogenic inflammation. And there are so many diseases where inflammation is a problem. So we think we may have a safe tool to regulate inflammation in various conditions, and therefore we want to explore that, of course, with money. Everything costs money, so we have to prioritize and see where there's a business. But we have one molecule, and we also have some backup compounds, but they are not matured into clinics. So we have this TRPV1. And I'm a vet, as I said, and I used to teach pharmacology. So when I taught about how do you use painkillers, veterinarians always have painkillers and needle and thread at home because then they can fix their own animals. But if you so this is the central nervous system with the brain and the spinal cord, but then you have the peripheral nervous system, which is like outside. As you see here, I don't know if I can point here. Well, anyway, these nerves come out from the spinal cord, and they are called sensory. Both nerves coming out, but also coming in. And there are some small unmyelinated fibers that go all the way out to the periphery in the whole body, and they have this chili receptor sitting on them. And so it's these nerve threads we want to regulate. What happens is if you have a traumatic stimulus, I just want to see the time, is that you can activate these fibers, and then these nerves shed out some neuropeptides that start inflammation, but what also happens is if the stimulus is really big, it goes all the way up to the brain and says, okay, I have a painful thing going on, you need to regulate that, run away, or whatever. But we believe that it's this efferent thing where you get this shedding out of neuropeptides that starts the inflammation, that is a problem. Hopefully, I hope I got it right, but I believe that is what is going wrong in diabetes. And of course, it's also what is going wrong in other. So we made a drawing for a publication we did a few days ago. This is the sensory nerve ending. It ends like, bluntly out in the periphery. And then the idea is that in type 2 diabetes, at least, it's associated with the increased amount of fat cells, so obesity even. And in there you have assembly of some inflammatory cells, macrophages, and so that can set some mediators that then stimulate this TRPV1 to shed out neuropeptides, and then it goes on as a vicious circle. So that's the hypothesis that then these sensory neuropeptides inhibit insulin. But actually this goes on then also for other things, and I personally believe that this is the connecting factor in type 2 diabetes with, of course, decreased ability to secrete insulin and not be able to regulate your blood glucose, but also the comorbidities. So there's some evidence that this receptor is also involved in development of heart disease and kidney disease and so on. But we hope to be able to show more about that. So that's background for the diabetes, but in principle also and then if we come with our antagonist, then we block this this circle. And with that molecule, we hope we can then maybe do more good. So we have, the blue one is kind of the plan from our IPO, and I stick to that because I like to try to tell our investors came in and who have come in on the way that we are focused on doing, I put in pride to say, I do what I say and I say what I do. When we listed, it was this manufacture of API and the 3 months preclinical studies. We actually also got an extra thing. We needed to do more analytical methods to recertify our tablets. We have made tablets before the IPO. And then we will go towards a phase 2B study, 3 months. In diabetes, we're about to go in there. And we have agreed with one of our scientific advisors in the UK to start with his site to get approval for the protocol. As I said, it's a target where some of the molecules have had safety issues, and there is a risk that some of the regulatory assessors are negative towards the target. So to not go out for, we need maybe 50 clinical sites and 5 to 10 countries. So we start in one country with our scientific advisor, and then we can also look into, we think we need to go up in higher doses. It seems to be well tolerated, so the higher dose we can get without safety problems, maybe the better effect we can get on glucose. So that's the diabetes, and at some point we need to raise funds for that. It's no secret, everybody knows that. And then the new thing here is this orphan project. And we have some good friends that are helping us with calculating a valuation of that project, and we are waiting for that. But so we don't know exactly how much worth that could be, but it's a much shorter process, right? So we can get to market. I think we will do this, probably this proof of concept study, small study in few patients to show that the molecule works on pain in these patients. Because then we can get the EMA, the European Orphan Designation, and probably also maybe a partner, or at least investors. There is quite a lot of interest in this project, at least if I compare it to the diabetes. It's just, the diabetes is super important, but it's just really long timelines, really expensive. And then when you're out there, then you can make a lot of money. But here, it's of course a smaller project, but you can get to market in maybe 3 years. And what I experience is, I was not driven by helping the patients actually. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm a vet, so I've signed that I want to do everything I can to prevent anxiety and pain and suffering in animals, and that of course also includes man. But these patients, or these persons that have erythromelalgia, that it's called, they have a quite troublesome life. They get it, it's kind of a progressive condition where they just become worse and worse and worse. And it's so frustrating for them that besides not being able, they get so much pain in their feet, so they cannot move, they cannot. So I've spoken, and they call me now, they write to me, and then we speak. And they really, really, really want us to develop this because their life is miserable. And I'm just like, okay, this is really super motivating to actually, I mean, if you can say one patient, that's, I mean, of course I want to save the world, but you have to start by maybe in smaller. So I'm personally very, very motivated to see how fast we can move this forward and see if we can get your support maybe to get funds to move it forward. This will not be super expensive, this small study, but we would need to start consulting with the FDA about the development plan. And then, of course, we hope we can do just a phase 2/3, so depending on if these patients can help us find the patients, that's one. So we need money and we need patients. And then often it's also always this about, it's difficult to find the patients. But it seems they have a big network where they are interrelated with each other, and they really need it. They say, I spoke to a US person with this condition last week, and he actually started crying during the conversation. It's so painful to talk about it, and then he's so active in, how can I help you to develop this? But he told me that in US, 25% of these patients actually commit suicide. So I think ethically, I mean, the diabetes project is super important also, I think, because there's a lot of people in the world who has not access to good diabetes treatment. But we also here have a smaller condition, but really severe. So I just actually got my board's approval to, if I can raise the funds, that we can prioritize both projects. So I hope to do that. Then we also have some other ideas for other types of projects around this molecule. And we will soon start a research collaboration with a university group in a totally different indication, then we'll see. Okay, diabetes, you know about that. It's a lot of patients and it's developing like crazy. Quadrupled in 25 years, I think was the last figure. So there's not so much discussion about that. Diabetes can be a good investment, but of course it's big and long trials, so it's costly. These are our results from our phase 2A study. Insulin secretion, and the blue one was our product. So after 4 weeks treatment, we could improve insulin secretion. After the last dose, we did an oral glucose tolerance test, made patients drink glucose. And also here in that same study, we had the glucose values, and you can see it's actually the dippled line that is our treatment, and they return faster towards normal. It's not complete super, so we think we must up in dose to actually get, normally after 2 hours you should, for a normal patient, if you drink glucose, you should be down to your normal glucose after 2 hours. So, but maybe it's, and for the long-term blood glucose, that's called HbA1c, we see that from start of treatment to end of treatment and then follow-up, we had a trend for a reduction. This is the biomarker that is needed to be significantly reduced for us to get regulatory approval to move on to phase 3. So that's the primary endpoint for the next study. And also what our pharma contacts have told me, you need to show significant effect on HbA1c in a phase 2b study. Then we will maybe want to partner with you, but not before. So we will try to do that. Yeah. And here is a picture. You can also, we also have a small information about it on our homepage. These are an acute episode of this erythromelalgia. And as I said, we got that FDA approved this summer, the orphan drug status. So we have that. And we're looking into various models to finance that, but for sure there is interest from other types of investors and also specialized orphan companies. We are going to a meeting in Switzerland in a few weeks, Bio-Europe. It's a partner meeting, and we are trying now to reach out to probe for interest in this project, and I have actually already a lot of meeting booked. So there seems to be interest, but let's see. Let's hope for at least for the patients. Okay, this is the team. Me, Elna Lemper is our CFO, and we have 2 project directors. Susanne, who comes from Novo, I think we have put in here the backgrounds. Diabetes specialist, she's super cool. She took 3 diabetes projects to market already. And Hans from AstraZeneca, he's the pain specialist, experience from this special orphan condition, and has also been involved in taking AstraZeneca painkillers to market. They are really good. And then, of course, we have a lot of consultants and my wonderful colleague Gustav in the team also. The board, Fredrik Buch, Swedish, is actually living here up in Bromma. And we just selected a few. He has both big pharma, he's a doctor, and he has, of course, done research at the university. He has big pharma experience and investor experience. And he's a known face in this space. And I'm still in the board. I'm there kind of as a backup if somebody should drop out. I have a background from Novo, and I also was associate professor at the university. Lene from Novo has a lot of experience in marketing diabetes drugs. And Milan, who came in last year, he also comes from the diabetes space. He's a doctor with experience in this GLP-1 space, but he also worked at Sobi, so he has some insight into orphan drug development. Our scientific advisory board, 4 of them are diabetes specialists. One is pain, and then we have our patent attorney to show that we have a focus on patents. We will add a pain specialist or orphan specialist to this going forward, but we are in the process of discussing with people. And thank you. And
Thank you, Dorte. I think this is really funny. My mother is veterinarian. So
good bunch of people.
It's nice with animals.
We know something about the integrity of the whole body, I think, and that's maybe. And then we, of course, just consider man as another animal. So.
Yeah, it sounds like my mother. So I was wondering, you said that this chili receptor is overreactive in diabetes. You strongly believe that. Is there any other science that to back that up, or is this totally your idea in this company, or is?
Well, I got the idea like 20 years back, and then I did a lot of research and published some papers and a patent application that I bought out and got to that Pila owns now. Then after that, this about that it is an inflammatory condition, that was not known at that time. But later on, I think that is well documented now that inflammation plays a big role, and type 2 diabetic patients have a low-grade inflammation level. I don't think it's known exactly why that is so. It's just, people have documented it. There's been a lot of focus on the intestinal tract and inflammation by the gut. So there is a lot of interest in this space on, inflammation as a component in the development of diabetes and its comorbidities especially. Yeah. So, but we don't have full consensus on this yet. No. But we hope to get there. I think we need more data basically to show that hopefully I was right in what I thought. But just to say, these scientific advisors, the 4 diabetes, 3 of them at least, they are really top-notch key opinion leaders who have been involved in other drugs, and they are like, so when they stand up for us, I think there is a good chance that we might be right.
Yeah. Good. And then this erythromelalgia.
EM we call it.
EM.
Yes.
So let's stick to EM. I actually suspect my daughter has that. We call it cold allergy at home. Okay. But it might be this.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not actually, as I said before, I'm not an expert in this. I have deep compassion for these people, and I'm now trying to understand first by talking to patients. But
it's really painful when it comes.
Yeah, but it is triggered by various things. Chili, for one thing. This American person with EM, he told me, no, spicy food I can't do. So red wine I also heard, but I guess your daughter doesn't drink red wine. But so there are different triggers, and the cold receptor it's not chili, but it's linked. So they are like sister receptors also on the nerve, so they can intertalk. But maybe we'll leave that for later.
Because I'm an egoist and want you to develop something for EM patients like my daughter, probably. Yeah. But it also seems like a very much better track given the market's conditions now. Yeah.
I think in this period we have to be a little bit opportunistic. I'm reaching out to our current investors now to hear their opinion, because those who are shareholders now have invested in the diabetes project. I'm definitely going to do everything I can to develop that. But we may have an opportunity to make money and do good, and maybe we should also do that. Or we don't know if we have to prioritize. I hope not. But at least we want to. I mean, we want to. It's like just following a horse. It's not like pushing it through the fence.
Exactly. And
so it's like it seems to be.
You need 200 million. But you do a proof of concept first. How much does that cost? And
yeah, we
can
have
you
actually. Gustav is involved in that in calculating and doing the project plans and so on. But so until now we have made the diabetes plan, and for that we need to do a lot of to get to market. Of course, you need to do the clinical studies, but you also need to do some more development on the tablet. Maybe it's you need another formulation. You need to do more tox studies, actually, carcinogenicity and things like that. And that is actually quite expensive. So, but if we what the project that goes first has to bear these costs, right? So we have calculated $20 to $25 million. That's because Gustav has been in the US talking to investors there. That should take us all the way to market. So, but we will probably start with a smaller sum, and if it goes good, we will go to the next stage. But in total, to get to market, it's around that mark, and that is considerably less than for the diabetes.
Exactly, it's
and you would be protected.
But
and
I guess that you said that the first step would be the proof of concept study.
Yeah.
So when can you do that? How fast is it?
Yeah, so we are in the process of finding a principal investigator. And since the patients are contacting me, we think we can. And yesterday I got a phone call that the principal investigator that we are hoping to engage, a pain specialist, has said yes. So we don't have a contract yet, and we don't have a protocol designed, but that means we have a way forward. And so hopefully we can get the protocol design, like what is a mean. They have done pain studies before, right? So they know what to do. I'm not an expert in that, so I will leave that to Hans and his friends. A meaningful protocol where we could, in maybe a few patients, show that we have an effect. That would be the first step. And so hopefully, so we are waiting for the last tox results. Hopefully we'll get that before Easter. And then, as I said, we need to recertify the tablets we have. And that is not done until June. And then we heard that they had some technical problems. So everything is delayed. I'm so upset about that. But that's just life in this business. Hopefully we could submit a clinical trial application in both areas, actually, in July. So we are preparing. Let's see. Sometimes you have to discuss study a trial design for a year before you get into place. Sometimes you can do it like, okay, we'll just use another
But
protocol.
You're talking about a big trial then for EM? Or are you talking about the proof of concept for EM?
The proof of concept trial, you still have to be very considerate in how you design it, because if you go with fewer patients, there will be less signal to detect, right? So you may even have to do a better design. If you go for a bigger, longer trial, you can, the small differences fade out. But for a small trial, if that is kind of, going to be a stop-go decision result, there you have to be really considerate in how you design it. But I have full confidence in that they know what to do, and so hopefully we can
do a super design of the proof of concept. You do the proof of concept; it's fantastic. Then you raise 200 million, and then you're home.
Yeah, and then probably 2 to 3 years till you get to registration.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's maybe a new turn we didn't expect, but sometimes, yeah.
Wishing you good luck.
Thank
Dorte.
you very much.
Thank you for being here.